Okay, we're live. Welcome to Office Hours. This is episode 110. And today we're going to talk about. So, I don't know if y'all have heard this, but Distrokid was bought out by a private equity firm. So, we're going to talk all about that and what that means. I'm Nora here with Stowe, and we are both music industry people who care about artists and want to change the industry so that more creative people can make music and be successful on their own terms. Hi, Stowe.
Yo, appreciate everyone coming through. Pardon the title stuff. Yeah, we're definitely behind on getting all that together. But yeah, the Distrokid stuff, that was just.
Here's what happened, like full transparency, right? Like Stowe and I will plan ahead because we're trying to be organized. And so weeks ago, we were like, we should talk about this, how to rest. And then this news happened kind of recently. And so we wanted to talk about this issue because it's pressing and it's present and it's relevant now. And we just haven't had a chance to do our back end stuff. So, yeah, and I think that's just such a good example for or a good reflection, I don't know, of how stuff happens in the industry where you can have the best laid plans. And sometimes things happen that are out of your control. And so what does it look like to adjust and pivot, which is what we're here trying to do.
Exactly. I actually should be able to change the title on the back end now. So hopefully that's coming through. But yes.
Oh, it did. And then we lost Stowe, but until he comes back on. So here's what happened to give a quick rundown. CVC is a private equity firm. What private equity firm means is that they're private money, just a bunch of rich people who buy and invest in other things, and the idea is that they invest and get something back. So CVC bought Distrokid. They have a majority stake in Distrokid, which means they own most of it. And then there's some other owners. So, whenever there's new ownership, priorities can change, services can change, costs can change. And oftentimes what happens when private equity purchases something, the goal that private equity has is they're investors, right? Their goal is to make back their money. And so, there's a lot to be said about what this could mean for, I think we're getting Stowe back. There's a lot to be said for how this can impact artists, especially because Distrokid is something that so many independent and early stage artists use, early career artists use. And so, I was just breaking down for people kind of who CVC is, what a private equity firm is, what's kind of happened in the Distrokid situation. And so I'm curious, just kind of off top, is this good? Is this bad? Should we be concerned? What are your thoughts on it?
Listen, I think it's very easy sometimes to, hit the big red button and panic and stuff like that. I'm not saying that we should be used to this type of stuff, but we see it all the time. We unfortunately saw it with, I guess I don't know if Epic Games is private equity or not, but we see ownership changing and majority shares changing between companies all the time. However, in my personal opinion, Distrokid has kind of had a history of low-key kind of screwing over artists. I've seen it, whether it's, upload stuff, whether it's them taking down your music without your permission type stuff. Again, not uploading your stuff on time, despite you having uploaded it, ahead of time, like they tell you to do. And they give you all these specific instructions on how to make sure that your stuff's on time so that you can submit it for stuff, and they still mess it up. And so, and Distrokid, I'm not going to hold you, they just haven't really been dependable. And so I'm not entirely surprised that the minute someone comes through with a little bit of money, they're like, oh yeah, absolutely, we'll take that immediately. And so it's the same thing with the Bandcamp situation. It's the same thing with, even SoundCloud and stuff like that, that we've seen in the past. It's some of it is we have to wait and see exactly what they're going to do. But at the same time, it's kind of I wouldn't be surprised if they did some messed up shit.
I think there's layers to this, right? why one is the bigger issue that a lot of independent artists don't have or don't feel like they have a lot of options for distribution. So Distrokid, and especially because Distrokid, I think, was one of the first ones like out there. It grew a name. Distrokid provides a service that is needed. It helps artists distribute their music to the places that it, so that it could get heard. That's valuable. Over the years, it has not been the most responsive or, supportive of artists. And so you have to ask yourself, like, what is in it for a private equity firm whose goal is not to support independent artists, right? Whose goal is not to put more, information in the hands, more new music in the hands of listeners. A private equities firm goal is to make a ton of money. And to me, the question is like, what is lucrative about Distrokid? Like, how much money is Distrokid actually making that private equity sees this as something to invest in? And a little bit of like what I've been reading and what I've been researching and thinking about is it's not about like distribution itself. What is so important these days is data, is the information. And so that really, I think, is what CVC is investing in, is the data that comes with Distrokid. It's all the information, it's all, it's all of that. And you're capturing it at the front end of the process, right? Like you're capturing it at the part where it's early artists, early career. So these artists are like locked in with you from the beginning, and you get to keep that data and that information for the rest of their career. So now you're tracking over time. You get to have a lot more power when you're working with early stage artists. So like you get to kind of negotiate deals that are in your favor. And so to me, that part of it is scary too, because it's not even about the artists, it's about the fans and all the information that the firm and Distrokid as a representative of the firm is getting about you and your fans. It's not even like the artist is a means to an end. And so to me, that could be like, I think this kind of stuff impacts artists, but it also really impacts fans, because the other piece of this is what we're seeing is the monopolization of venues, of touring, of like, and so these things go together, my friends. And this sounds like so conspiracy theory, but it's not. Like
it's not. It's so not.
All of these things are connected. And so I think it's when we're already noticing like there's not enough distribution, there's not enough venues, there's not enough independent shows, people are getting priced out of events, equity firms coming in and taking over culture, to me is a really frightening thing, especially when we're in the age of like AI and like fake musicians, fake music. You cannot separate these things because they all do exist in the same kind of space together.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring up the AI stuff because I'm like, we're not talking about that right now, but like it's right in all of this stuff is it's not lost on me that all of this is happening at the same time. Oh, now Tidal wants to pretend that they're direct to consumer. Oh, now they want to put out a statement about AI. Oh, now Distrokid, a client had just sent me like a letter or something that they sent like last month about like how they love independent artists, and oh my God, and it's just like they don't show it. And like Nora said, the private equities company's job is not to be like, how can we help independent artists to the best of our ability? So we're actually running a lucrative business, the one that we advertised. It's how can we siphon as much money from independent artists who need this platform to distribute music? How can we siphon even more money from them? Watch. The thing is, you all who are watching this video, you've already seen this movie before. Want to know why? Because you have subscription services to something else, whether it's music, whether it's Peacock for housewives, whether it's ESPN for sports. That price keeps going up and now they're not even hiding it no more. It's no more of this once a year. Now they're like, you know what, actually we're going to raise the price every single fucking quarter. Distrokid is going to be next because the job of that private equity firm or whatever is to take as much money from you as possible. It is not to provide, like, I would love to see some type of entity actually scoop up a company and gasp, do more for independent artists. Again, like I said, between the AI watchdog shit, between all these platforms pretending that, oh, now we're direct to consumer, that's the new trend, like, watch DistroKid try to pretend to fall into that too. I could see that happening immediately. And so again, these companies are not here to serve you, they're here to take from you. And so use what you have to. Like, we say this all the time, like, we understand the fact that, like, there aren't a lot of options out here. And so maybe all you can use is DistroKid right now, but make sure that you're informed of what the hell is going on, because these companies don't care. DistroKid don't care about you. Like, it's crazy, but it's true.
Well, and like, this is the part where it's kind of, if it was so clear and direct, right? If all of a sudden they just raised the prices immediately, people would, like, Squarespace just like doubled their prices or like increased their hosting fees by like some ridiculous number. So like, obviously, if you did something so sudden, drastic, people are going to leave. What Distrokid is doing with this equity firm is they're not raising their like front end prices. You as a user might not even know that this is happening, but what's happening on the back end is now, when you agree to things and you sign your rights away and you press accept without reading the terms and conditions, you're giving them access to this data and this information. Y'all, like, this is a game of chess. People think you're playing checkers, but it's a game of chess. So you have to look at these moves 4, 5, 7 steps ahead, which is what is happening with this equity firm. And you have to look at it from like a big picture perspective, because like I said, these are the same companies that are owning the venues, that are doing event production, right? They're looking at how an artist goes from here to here to here, and then they're trying to own all of it so that now you're in the system and can't get out of it. And so, I think sometimes I hear a lot of artists look at things very immediate. Well, like this, and like AI is such a good example. They're like, well, like this helps me send an email faster, but they're not looking at 6 steps down the line, how the same information that you're giving in this email is going to be used to get rid of you as a creator or displace you as a musician. And so that's the same thing with private equity. And we've seen this, like, this isn't new. We've seen this with venture capitalists and private equity in all kinds of situations where they come in, they take over a brand or a company, and it diminishes the quality of the product. It diminishes the relationship of that brand with an audience. It diminishes their political like value and spectrum, cachet and like activism. And so this is, I think, so much bigger than like, is DistroKid good or bad? Are we going to continue to use DistroKid? There's a pattern here of looking at how, and y'all, like, this is capitalism, of looking at how these companies come in and undermine things that at one point started with very good intentions and now are setting themselves up to be detrimental to the people that they initially wanted to serve.
Mm-hmm. And again, we're going to keep seeing this. Like, if this isn't something that's again, we've already seen. Oh my God, we've already seen it with again other streaming platforms, whether it's Spotify pretending that they're not botting streams, pretending that they're not uploading AI artists, and that profit, by the way, isn't going to AI artists, which is insane to think about. Like, that's literal money not going to the real people making music because of XYZ. And all of that is controlled, funneled by a company. Like, it's not. Anyway, Bandcamp, again, with how they did the transaction with SongTrader and Epic Store, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. Again, Tidal pretending now, like, yes, direct to consumer, we're all about that. We're all for the artist. And it's like, very interesting, because, like, again, that's not a new model. That's been around. Why are we pretending like it's new now? And then DistroKid, where it's like there's a lot of people where at the time, maybe not when they were first coming out or whatever, but over at least pre-pandemic, like, I'm pretty sure they were one of the cheaper options to upload stuff. And now look, it's devolved into, hey, again, like, watch them raise prices. Watch them try to Ooh, I didn't even think about this one. Watch them try to lock features behind a different kind of subscription or whatever. Like that's their job, literally. And so, like Nora said, it's not about necessarily good or bad. Like, unfortunately, in some cases, we have to, we're choosing the best of two evils, but between this and some of the other topics that we've been covering, like, this is a trend. Like, this is happening in real time. We're watching companies who, by the way, see the value of independent artists. I want to make that clear. Before, when you're sitting down with labels or you're sitting down with these companies or whoever or whatever, I don't care if it's United Masters, I don't care if it's Distrokid, Tidal, even Bandcamp, I don't care. We're watching all of this. Like, all of these companies are making these same exact moves of, hey, we know that music is valued. We know consumers are listening to the music, and we know that people are making the music, even if we don't know who they are. How can we take as much money from them as possible to make sure that not only are we getting, my God, not only is our bottom line going up, but theirs is technically going down. And so, like, that's their goal. And so that's why it's just like, my God, we talk about this all the time, but get in contact with your audience. Your audience, low key. It sounds crazy, and I'm not going to go too far into this, but your audience should know about this type of stuff. Like, this is the type of stuff that sometimes you should be sitting down and be like, hey, I understand that you're streaming my music over here and doing this, but here's what's happening on my end. Your average listener has no clue about, like, distribution and how all that works on the back end. They dead ass think you just stepped into the closet for 5 seconds, recorded a song, and then boom, put it on the internet. And so when you sit down and explain, like, hey, like, even, I don't know, I watch artists like pull their stuff off of streaming when stuff like this happens. That's great. Like, let's go. Pull your shit off this so they can't take advantage of it. I love it. But explain to your fans why. Because they don't understand that, like, all these things are happening. I mean, they understand, I guess, to an extent because of their own subscriptions, but they don't understand the struggle that you're dealing with and having to navigate all of this stuff. And so breaking it down for them and showing them, like, yo, these platforms are not helping me. I need your support to back me up, changes the whole perspective from a casual perspective where they automatically think that you're because you're getting your music distributed and stuff.
Well, and that's part of it, right? Like, your audience, you actually as a musician might not be impacted by this purchase right now immediately. Your audience might not be impacted. And that's part of how these things happen, is like the changes happen. You're so locked into using that system. And then subtly over time, things change, right? Like, subtly over time, things start to shift. Because if they happen radically and immediately, we would push back. And so your audience, like, your job, oh, hello, Jimmy. Part of your job, as like Stowe said, part of your job is to communicate these things with your audience, because they are also impacted, right? It's their data just as much as your data that these companies want, that they want to see who's listening to you, who's pressing play, especially because the audience that will support an independent or early career artist is a very special audience. Those are early adopters. Those are the people that companies want to target, because if they took a risk on an artist they've never heard of, they're going to take a risk on a brand they've never heard of. They're going to be like that core audience that becomes your top, like, 2% that's always going to support you. And so that's really important. The other piece of this is, and we talk about this all the time on office hours, is thinking about how you could be strategic and plan ahead. So I have artists that I work with who left Spotify, or whose fans left Spotify when Spotify was all supporting ICE and, like, on their, ridiculous stuff. Part of it is communicating, but part of it is, what are you going to do when you leave this platform? And this is where having a direct to consumer relationship. And we've, like So said, we've been talking about this forever and ever and ever, but, like, do you have a newsletter? Do you have a Discord? Do you have do you have your own online community? Are you sending snail mail? Like, whatever it is, do you have a place where people can support you directly, hear from you directly, count on you directly, without a third-party, algorithm-driven, data-driven entity? And that takes time to build. And I think a lot of times artists are like, well, but I only have 5 people, or yeah, that's fine. Like, start with the small that you have and pour into it, because that is how a community gradually builds. But this stuff, and again, like, stay on Distrokid, don't stay on Distrokid. Like, that's not what we're here to tell you. But what I do want to tell you is, think about how you can start to plan ahead so that you have some infrastructure around you, so that next time another company does the thing that you have no control over, you can still manage your relationship with your audience. Is it having physical CDs? Is it having QR codes? Is it, because you are a creative, you get to be creative about how you distribute your music, about how you share. Like, it's nothing to connect with 3 or 4 other artists that and put out your own playlist. Like, that's what we just did at Dead Music Fest. We're doing a monthly playlist of artists that you probably never heard of, but you're going to love. And now they're supporting each other and cross-pollinating and collaborating, all without a Distrokid. So, this is where, whenever I talk about things that artists shouldn't pay for, and we have an episode, I think it's like episode 61 or something. We talked about this a while ago.
You got it. You know it.
Did I? Yeah, because I recently was there's always this pushback of like, but that's how it is, and that's how it's got to be. And it doesn't, like, it really, really doesn't. And sometimes I think artists get stuck in doing the things that they feel like they should do to be an artist, like the performance of professionalism and like what it means to be like a working artist versus actually just being it. And if you allow yourself to be it, trust that you are it without having to like hit these arbitrary benchmarks that someone has created to validate you. You okay?
Huh? Sorry, he was just looking at himself. I'm just like, not on the internet, dog. Any other time, you're fine.
Body shame him. But no, that's it. But just like, he's so sweet. But no, I mean, that's it. But just to say that, like, you don't have to go through the performance of being an artist. You could just be who you are and learn as you go and figure out your own systems and create your systems and like build your own processes. It doesn't have to be, oh, this is how so-and-so did it, so that's how I'll do it. Like, allow yourself to be creative in how you build the systems around you.
And on top of that, like, that also is plays into when, like, Distrokid isn't the only way to distribute your music.
Right.
And like Nora said, I think sometimes we get caught up in this, like, oh, like, this is what I know. This is what's been the most popular or whatever this whole time and stuff like that. But there are plenty of different options to distribute your music, even with the direct-to-consumer stuff. And so, don't let these companies make you think you're trapped. And in fact, here's the thing, like we and Nora touched on this already, but like, these companies want your data, but you can be out here getting your own data and actually owning that data. I know it's crazy. I know it's a bit extra work, but when you're doing direct to consumer and you're actually able to communicate directly with your audience, you can have a whole spreadsheet that has the data there to take. Like, and again, you don't have to, go super deep into that data or whatever. I'm not saying like you need to ask, like, okay, like when you wake up at 8:23 in the morning, like, what do you do? I'm not saying that, but like when you ask your audience, like, hey, like, where are you located? Hey, like, where are you listening from? Where should I'm trying to plan some shows. Where should I pop up? That's you getting data. It's not, through scamming means in a fucking Google form or whatever, and you're not siphoning data to pitch them Ozempic, but you're actually like, again, that data is yours and you can use that to make informed decisions about your career. And it's like, that's the information the companies are trying to get from you. And I think sometimes I just kind of put this together as we were talking about this, but it's like, it's not the same. Like, yes, do companies do it on like a mass consumption type deal or whatever, where they're just pulling data from hundreds of people? Absolutely. You can do the same damn thing yourself and not give that data over to the companies that are trying to steal it. So that's all we're trying to tell y'all out here is like, these companies don't care about you. You genuinely use them as a means to an end. Like, because that's all it is. Social media, even fucking StreamYard, like it's a means to an end. These platforms don't care about us. We have to figure out ways to kind of create our own path. And so that's why it's important to have a direct relationship with your supporters and stuff like that. Because when stuff like this happens, now you're not freaking out like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose all my data and how am I gonna upload music? Like you already have a plan in advance. And like Nora said, like right now it's easy to sit here and be like, well, nothing's really changed. But all it takes is that weird ass email, black background, white font. Hey guys, we really appreciate your guys' support. We're actually tripling the price so we can give you the best service possible. Then everything changes. Now you're paying, because how many times, my God, me and Nora, we've both been in the industry for well over 20 years at this point. There's been so many times where a company will make an announcement or Instagram will make an announcement or something, and artists will just full on panic. Oh God, what do we do? How am I supposed to do the rollout? Oh my God. That's why we do these episodes in advance, so you can know, hey, this is what's happening. Don't be surprised. What, it's July? Shit. Some of these niggas have to be reporting their stocks and their profit numbers here in a couple months because the music industry quarter cycle is coming around. I'll be damned if they don't raise the prices so they can go to their investors and be like, hey, look, we've actually increased profits by 33.6%. Give us more money so we can raise the prices again. Like, that's what they're doing out here.
I just want to go back to what you were saying around like you as an artist or as a creative, as an entrepreneur, you can like data is helpful, right? Data is knowing what your audience needs and wants. And it doesn't have to be sketchy or scandalous. Like you see Stowe and I do this every episode when we're like, is there a topic you'd like us to talk about? Let us know. Like that is gathering data from the audience. Every time I meet with a client, I ask, or someone wants to like meet with me, I ask, how did you hear about me? That is useful data collection. You as a musician could do a listening party and make it a focus group and ask, how'd y'all hear about this? Where are you from? What makes you go to a show? What kind of merch would you want? It's helpful to know the people that you are creating with and for. And there's a ton of ways as an artist that you can do that. That's authentic and it's genuine. There's nothing wrong with gathering information because you're also sharing. But the difference is you're being transparent and people are consenting to the information that they're giving you versus what's happening here with Distrokid, for example, where they're trying to hoard like this point of entry for data and then control it as you progress in your career. And so again, what it comes back to is, especially when you're in your early stages, when you get that follow, reach out and say, hey, thank you. How'd you find me? Like, where are you checking in from? Thank you so much. Like, can I add you to my newsletter? Or when someone DMs you, like ask them a question. Hey, what song are you listening to right now? We have all these tools. Use it to get to know your audience. Use it to know what they care about. And I think we have an episode about like identifying your niche. And these are the things that we talk about there. But that's helpful in data to be like, what is it that makes you tick? It's not about your demographics. It's about your behavior, your patterns. And so getting to know your audience in a human to human perspective is great. When it's venture capitalists and equity firms that are doing it, that's a little bit more red flaggy because of the way that it's going to interrupt our relationships with each other and what they're going to do with that data. So, as always, if you're watching this live with us, thank you for being here. If you're watching this after the fact, leave a comment, share your thoughts. We always come back and watch and communicate. Watch. I mean, we do. We always come back and watch, but with the idea of office hours is like so we can have real-time conversations. So what are your thoughts on this? What are you using in alternatives? What data is important to you? What episodes would you like us to do more in the future? If you haven't shared, please share one of our episodes because this is part of how we create a new normal in the music industry, that there are other ways of doing this and other ways of being successful without having to sell your soul or your spirit or your creativity or all the things. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all those things, because that is what helps expand our reach into the world. And as always, Stowe and I are both here to offer consulting, coaching, support, answer your questions, connect you with artists, whatever it might be, because I think I can speak for Stowe here. There are so many good people making such good music in the world, and we only hear a tiny part of it on these platforms. And we want to put more good people, more good music out there. So reach out to us if you need anything. Next episode, we're here every 2 weeks. Our next episode is about rest, how to rest, what that means, because, you know, mental health is so important as we're navigating the chaos of the world, our personal shit, and all this fuckery. Final words, Stowe, as we close out today's episode 110.
Yeah. Appreciate you all for listening always. The only last part I'm going to throw in here real lightly is that, like, pay attention to how companies show you your supposed data. All I'm going to say is that Spotify gives you data, but how useful is that data? And so, yeah, leave a like, share it with a friend. Again, leave suggestions to what you want to listen to. God damn it. What you need from us, help wise, because this is for all of you, and whatnot. And so, yeah, definitely. And honestly, share it with somebody. Damn, share it on the timeline. Tag us in it. Like, we love seeing the conversation that happens between all this stuff. There's so much going on right now, and you know, I still think independent artists have more power than I think they realize. And so, you know, take a chance, watch some of our episodes, or listen. Actually, if you got that YouTube, turn off your phone and just let this ride out like a podcast. And so we'll be back in a couple weeks with how to actually rest, and we'll be back soon. I don't know what my dog is doing. My God, get some rest. Get a website. Can't get a website. Get a newsletter. Drink some water. Talk nice to yourself for once. And we're out of here.
Bye. See you next time.